Television highlights of the news of yesteryear. It's 1917, and Woodrow Wilson signs declaration of war, and then, from famous fishbowl, draws one of early numbers in national draft. For America's small army must be bolstered by civilians. And toward Jefferson Barracks, Missouri, here are some of first to get called to duty. Civilians yesterday, draftees now, they'll soon be in the Army. At Camp Dix, New Jersey, with shoes in hand, recruits go through inspection. This is an important part of early training program. For an army doesn't march on its stomach, but on its feet. And footwork here will mean good work in Europe's war. Every day at camps like Jefferson Barracks, American men leave civilian life behind and begin weeks of conditioning and training for battle that lies ahead. From induction centers, they march now on to camps peppered across the country. Creator of training program is General Peyton March, now Chief of Staff. And among his many specialized assistants is boxer Benny Leonard. Here at Camp Upton on Long Island, Benny demonstrates that fundamentals of fisticuffs demand same motions of attack that will be needed in hand-to-hand combat with bayonet. American Marines catch on quick. Well-trained Leatherneck will live longer. And most of training is in trench warfare and fighting hand-to-hand. For World War I was not a war of speed and mobility. It was war of trenches and battle for possession of no man's land. Even kidding around, soldiers of the growing AEF did things that helped them get into condition for the grim task ahead. At Camp Dodge, Iowa, four-legged recruits of the cavalry and field artillery took their army training too. Soldiers learned to break wild horses, shoe their frisky mounts. For prior to days of armored half-tracks and cannon-laden tanks, the horse was the Army's chief means of transportation and mobility. But armored tanks did show even in training days of America's participation in World War I. Here's practice tank being inspected by Americans who volunteered for tank warfare in the fields of France. Considered dreadnought of the battlefields of World War I, it provides cover for advancing doughboys of the soon-to-be famous Infantry Division of 1917. At Fort MacArthur, California, these draftees have finished their basic training and trade their campaign hats for steel helmets they'll wear in war. Shrapnel from bursting shells has proved disastrous in France, so America's untried fighting men will go prepared for it. Under stress of war, America's fighting army grows from 30,000 to 300,000. 5 months after this nation's entry into the conflict, more than 1 million men were under arms. And each day, thousands more were filing into induction camps for intensive and extensive training. Average soldier trained 6 months before going overseas. But some American soldiers sailed for France less than 4 weeks after our entry into war, trained and ready for combat, over there. General John Pershing salutes first soldiers in his command, and it's off to war and victory in France. Those who stay home do so with heavy hearts, for ahead lie the Argonne, the Meuse, Chateau-Thierry, and the Marne. And as the first doughboy set sail November 11th, 1918, is yet a long way off.
It's a rainy day in December 1929, but Germans in Berlin say, "Let it rain, let it rain." And here's a very ingenious and handy reason why. It's an umbrella automat. Of course, Berlin has come in all shapes and sizes, and the gentle rain of Germany falls on the large and small. Yes, there's a Gesundheit saver even for little girls.
Procession of high churchmen leaves Madison Avenue residence of Patrick Joseph Cardinal Hayes as Cardinal himself emerges from his New York home to take part in solemn church rites. It's 29th of April, 1924, and Governor and Mrs. Al Smith watch as Hayes blesses crowd gathered on 50th Street near 5th Avenue. Note old buildings where Radio City now stands. Archbishop of New York since 1919, Hayes has just returned on Leviathan from Rome and Vatican City, where Pius XI elevated him to rank of cardinal, highest dignity of Catholic Church next to papacy itself.
In Washington, D.C. in 1923 is the famed Wild Bull of the Pampas, prize fighter Luis Firpo. Here the mighty Argentinian shakes hands with his nation's ambassador Pueyrredón. But his best-known mission in this country was trading futile blows with America's boxing king, Jack Dempsey.
In San Francisco for American Legion Convention of 1922, here's Hollywood heroine Colleen Moore as she brings greetings from movie land to the men who fought in France. Miss Moore is remembered for her roles in Little Orphan Annie, So Big, and Flaming Youth.
It's 1927, and here in nation's capital are two of America's leading senators as they looked after senatorial debates of yesterday. They're Senators William Borah of Idaho, left, and young Bob La Follette of Wisconsin.
It's 24th of July, 1930, and here's result of yesterday's series of tremors that brought death and destruction to Italians of Apennine Mountain areas. 8 provinces feel motion of the quake, and near center of disturbance, whole villages are destroyed. Known dead approached 3,000, with thousands more injured, some seriously. Italy's Premier Mussolini has ordered leaders of Italian Red Cross to conduct relief and rescue operations in person, and little King Victor Emmanuel wept when viewing his people's pitiful plight. 14,000 survivors are moved out of quake area for fear shaken buildings will fall and cause more death. This remains Italy's worst disaster till she accepts the invitation to dance with Adolf Hitler.
It's 9th of August, 1927, and here's Miss Gail Beverly of Broadway and the United States Navy doing a few fancy nautical nip-ups. Daughter of Navy's Commander Goss, Gail is famous as daughter of the Navy and as dancing comedian on Broadway stage. Here doing black bottom and bit of ballet on surfboard, Miss Beverly shows she's such a good sailor, she'd just as soon spend half her time in water. But the actress in her wins, as she looks pretty for producers.
It's September 1928, and at airport in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, planes from all parts of America unload their unusual cargo, boxes of fresh-cut flowers. Postmaster Piasecki inspects container of posies shipped by air from Portland, Oregon. Look at those stamps. And here's what was in the box from Oregon. Gladiolas, 2,000 miles from their garden home, but still fresh. Milwaukee's post office displays airborne flowers from here, there, and everywhere.
Permanent. It's 1919, and no, the lady isn't going to be scalped. She's a 1919 beauty parlor to get a permanent wave. We promise you that isn't an instrument of death or torture. It's the harmless curling machine of the time. Any surprised look she may be wearing is purely beauty's price. Wired for waves, she's a little warm under that battery of electric curling irons, but all's well that ends well. Now let's see if she has her hair, or will be in the market for a wig. No damage. A large curved comb goes on top of our victim's frilly and heated head. And here are results of torture our beauty parlor victim has endured. Her hair is all waves and she's happy 'cause it's over. Till next time.
Turtle Race. It's September 1925, and it's rodeo time on the famed 101 Ranch at Ponca City, Oklahoma. And among most exciting events is Turtle Race. Every cowpoke and ranch gal in the county has $2 down. And here comes the winner. Here's Pepper, fastest terrapin in all of Oklahoma. Pepper, winner of $1,679. It's 1929. And at foot of Colorado's Pikes Peak, auto racers are flagged past starting post on dash to top of mountain. There are 154 turns along the route, all like this. And all you do to drop out of race is miss just one of them. Here's what it looks like behind wheel of racer speeding up the long, zigzagging incline. At summit, here comes the speeding winner. In rarefied air of Colorado Mountain, congratulations and $1,200 belong to Edward Philips.